My name's Deb DiCaprio, and I'm the Vice President for Student Affairs at Marist College.
And can you tell us a little bit about your understanding of the nuisance law, kind of how it came about?
Sure. As we all know, Marist students have moved off campus for a number of years, and at this point, because of the growth of the population of the college, we have almost 1,000 students that live in the community. And the majority of students who live in the community, majority of the time, are very good citizens, and you know, we recognize that, and actually our neighbors recognize that as well. But there are pockets of student housing that, particularly students who live in close proximity to community members, and may have some parties that get a little loud and out of control and disturb the neighbors. So, due to pressure, the town council did pass something called the Nuisance law. They had talked about it for a number of months, and there was an article in the Poughkeepsie Journal last spring, late spring, about the fact that the council was going to look at this. And then in August, they did pass the Nuisance law. And the nuisance law gave the police a lot more in terms of what they could do when they confront these parties. First of all, it raised the fee to up to actually $5,000 for a second or a third offense, and could even include jail time if the police felt that that was appropriate. We had a meeting with members of the council, with the town supervisor, and with the chief of police, and with our community police officer to talk about this. They really wanted the college to work with the students so that the students would understand this. They don't really want to arrest students for these kinds of things. They feel that they've had a good relationship with the college and with the students over the years. A number of them are Marist graduates. And they really kind of want the problem to go away without them having to induce this law every time there's a party. I do know that the law, that they have issued some tickets under the nuisance law. I don't think as many as we thought might happen. I think students have been, you know, I think the word has gotten out. I think students have been pretty good about trying to limit some of the activities that in the past created problems. We still have some issues, but there have not been nearly as much as we thought there would be, and you know, we're very pleased about that. We're pleased that the students are choosing to behave in such a way, and the police are also very grateful, because honestly, the last thing in the world the police want to do is arrest college students.
My name's Todd Tancredi. I'm supervisor of the Town of Poughkeepsie, and I've been asked to give a few statements concerning the nuisance party law and off-campus living in general. I want to disclose for the facts that I am a Marist graduate myself, and I'm glad Marist is in our community. I'm glad the college is a part of the Town of Poughkeepsie. I think it's a great relationship, and what I'm asking the students to do is realize when you're off campus, you have different rules that you have to live by, possibly, and these rules govern the way people live, you know, in their everyday lives. And my problem is that if I get phone calls from residents, it requires me to dedicate more manpower to patrol in the Fairview area, which generally includes overtime for the Town of Poughkeepsie. And when I have to raise more money for pay, it comes out of the taxpayers' pockets eventually. So what we're hoping is that the students and the residents can live in harmony in the Fairview area. When you're off campus, we're glad you're there, we're glad you're in our community, but what we want you to do is live as maybe you'd live at home. And if you can't get away with a big party in your mom and dad's home, realize that because you're at school, and particularly if you're off campus, you really probably shouldn't be doing it in our community either. So, like I said, I'm glad you're here. I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about this issue, and enjoy the rest of your college experience.
My name is Sergeant Gary Holbert with the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department. My role in working with the community is educating the students in the Fairview area around Marist College on the nuisance party law and how it can impact them. And the primary the focus is to keep them out of trouble, so they're aware that the law exists, especially coming from other communities that they don't have similar laws. Also, this law can be applied during senior week, which is a tremendous income burden on the police department, and the overtime costs that it creates for the department to patrol during these events. And so we just want to keep the students educated to how to keep themselves out of trouble and what laws pertain to them living in the community.
I'm the councilman for Town of Poughkeepsie 4th Ward, which includes Marist College and the surrounding area. Some of the benefits that I'd like to let the college kids know about the nuisance law is that we want you there first and foremost, and we don't want you to get any tickets, and we don't want to have our neighbors call and complain about you. We like having you there. The benefit of the law is that it's in place because it protects the residents and the quality of life in the neighborhood. Parties that go into the long hours of the night cause problems and disruptions for families that have young kids, working families, people who work shift work. So we just want you to understand that's the extent of the law. We didn't want to put this in place. We had to because of the prevalence of over 80 rental houses in the community. So what I would tell you is, please, we don't want you to get a ticket, and we don't want to have to expend our resources for it. Keep in mind that a lot of us have children and we work, and some of the issues are related not just to noise and nuisance, but conduct of students. Please don't use the streets as a bathroom. Don't pick up people's personal property when you're walking home if you had a few beers. I mean, we've all been there. We've all done stupid things. We're just trying not to, we're trying to bring awareness to you to be a good neighbor, and and we'll try to be good neighbors back to you and understand that you guys have a different lifestyle than we do right now, and we just want to find that common ground that we could all get along together.
At the beginning of each year in September, I do door-to-door visits to all off-campus houses that are identified as Marist students to pass out literature on certain laws that can impact them, introduce myself, offer my contact, so if they have any questions or problems, that they have a familiar person that they can reach out to and feel like they're part of the community.
The message that I would like to give to our seniors is that, honestly, we truly believe that most of the students, all of the students who live in our community, most of the time, really are good neighbors. And there's a lot of examples of Marist students who do very nice things for the people who live around them. And I think what I would like students to do is I would like them to introduce themselves to their neighbors and get to know them on a personal level before they engage in any of this kind of behavior. Because sometimes when you meet the people who live near you, you can't help but think about them and what impact something like these giant parties might have for them. I'm also saying I'm not saying don't have parties. What I'm saying is you really need to keep it manageable. Someday you're going to be living in a community with a spouse and with children, and you're not going to want that kind of outlandish behavior in your community either. So I think you have to kind of think that way. What if this was your grandmother who was living next door? And I also think that you have a responsibility when you are going to have these parties to let your neighbors know and to reassure your neighbors that you're going to do everything you can to keep it under control. You know, I think that the next day you need to, or even that night, you need to go out and pick up all of the garbage that's on the lawn and in the street. People pay taxes. They have a right to live in a community that is safe and pleasant. You know, I also would recommend that people really stop the public urination. That's a big issue for a lot of people, and it's very disturbing, and it's certainly not a good way. It's not the way we want Marist students to be remembered by our community. We know the good things you do. You know what good students you are. The positive things you do for our community in terms of all of our community service activities that Marist does, and that's the way we want you to be remembered by your neighbors as well.
So just start out by introducing yourself.
I'm Bob Gorman. I live on Hawkins Street in the town of Poughkeepsie.
And what are your primary concerns with students living off campus in regards to partying and noise and things like that?
Well, there is a new noise ordinance. The nuisance ordinances were in place because there's many houses of people that live there full-time, like myself, 470 of us full-time residents. And we have a little over 80 Marist houses now in the 4th Ward. What we'd like to do with the noise ordinance is at 10 o'clock. We'd like the noise down to a reasonable level, and we like the students to pick up after their parties. Litter is a problem afterwards, and I think the best thing is for students when they're going to have a party on the weekends, Friday, Saturday night. I don't think anybody has any problems with that. It would be best to communicate, go invite and introduce yourself to your neighbors, give them your phone number, your contact. So if there is a problem, they call you direct right then and there. Give you the chance before they have to call the police and bother them in the middle of the night. You know, because we all work, we live in a working environment. All of us come home 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, and we'd like some peace and quiet after 10 o'clock at night for sure.
And if there's one thing you could tell the senior class in regards to the nuisance laws, what would it be?
Communicate with your neighbors, and keep in mind if your grandparents or parents live next door to you, how would that look the way you keep your house? Just make a nice, residential community, and that's what we're trying to do. Matter of fact, my neighbors a couple years ago were going to have a party. There were some problems with that house. We had police calls numerous times, not only from me, but all my neighbors, or probably 4 different neighbors that complained. And some new leadership came into the house, and some young gentlemen introduced themselves throughout the neighborhood, gave phone numbers out. I think that was the best thing to do. We called them. The next day, there was some litter around. I happened to mention as they woke up and got outside the house, you guys going to take 10 minutes to clean the house up? And within 5 minutes, everything was taken care of. I also made mention, I was like, I think the zoning comes around and they will ticket you or find the homeowner when cars are parked on the lawn. So that was taken care of right away. So it's a communication, it's an education. So they should take the liberty of when the police officer comes around the neighborhood, take that information to heart. It will alleviate a lot of problems down the road.